Welcome back to the NewLeaf Symbiotics virtual field day. We're on the edge of a cornfield in northeast Iowa, just a mile or two from the town of New Hampton in Chickasaw County. I'm Mark Dorenkamp, live on Brownfield, and Allison Jack with NewLeaf is back with me. And Allison, our last segment was really fascinating to me. The guys from IN10T took us through the process of scoring corn rootworm pressure, digging the corn plants, washing them off, and then looking for damage, essentially. And we wanted to save the results for, a little bit of a teaser. And you're here to announce some findings. And we do want to point out that these are all preliminary results. But as our viewers can see, we have a lot of roots on display. So take us through what we're looking at.
Sure, thanks. So, again, it's been such a pleasure working with the IN10T team. I learned so much. I've never done this before. Dana Collette, our entomologist in-house, she knew all the ropes, but this was really my first jump into anything that's not a fungus. So it was really a great learning experience. And what we saw, so again, as Jay mentioned, pressure was relatively low on the 9 sites that we had. We really only had 2 that achieved the cutoff that we had predefined of 0.25 on the root damage rating, or the RDRs. So with that in mind, we really have to look at each site kind of individually, and it's really just a snapshot of what we've observed at one of these locations. And as Jay mentioned, this particular location where we are in New Hampton did not achieve that cutoff of enough pressure really to go through and dig the rest of the field. So what I've been carting around in the back of my car are roots from Remsen, Iowa. So this is a dig that we did on the 24th. And this had moderate pressure. So the root damage ratings at this location were 1.16. And again, that's a scale of 0 to 3. So that's considered moderate pressure, definitely at risk of lodging. And what Jay walked you through is that every single location also had what we called the grower standard practice, or the grower's choice. So it was at whatever trait package that they typically used in their region, in their experience of the pressure that they had. So we threw that in as just a comparison to grower standard practice. So what we saw here, so the non-treated control was at a 1.16. And then both of our products, Terrasym 201 and the trait, the grower standard practice, about halved that. So it was 0.07, 0.08 in that range. So we, and what we saw on top of that was with Terrasym 201, we also saw on top of a reduction in root damage scores, we saw a reduction in lodging. So, and I'm going to check the numbers just to make sure I get them right, because these are still fresh in my head. But
and as you check, we'll let our viewers know that closest to where you're looking is the 201 product, and in the middle is the non.
Yeah.
And then the 801 is closest to us.
Yeah. So the lodging in the non-treated control was 58%. The trait was 51% lodging, so not a big reduction in lodging there. But with 201, our lodging was 39%, and with 801, the lodging was actually 29%. So again, on its own, that's a great reduction. We're excited to see that as biologists and as product developers. Probably no grower would ever want to have 29% lodging, but what we're excited about with the Terrasym 801 product, specifically from this location, is that you can actually see on top of the mitigation of root damage, we did see a biostimulant effect, and we saw that reduction in lodging that was actually a higher reduction, it was lower lodging than with the trait. So what we, and the grower here was really engaged. He was the one that came out and dug in the field with us. We're thank you. And, he and I were talking after the dig when I was photographing everything. Wouldn't it be cool next year if we actually tried a combination? What if you put 801 on the trait background? Because we've tried that in our R&D trials. We've seen, significant yield enhancement on top of the trait. Could you get better protection from lodging, by combining those two together? So that's something that we'd really like to pursue next season.
And as Jay pointed out in our last segment, there can be a number of factors that lead to lodging, and it will be interesting to see as we get further into the growing season, closer to harvest, what the results are between now and then for lodging.
Exactly, because we have the lodging ratings from one snapshot in time, which is right now, but they do need to make it all the way to the end of the season for yield. So it'll be very interesting for me to see, if 801 and what we're observing as this enhanced root development can act like more substantial roots, more robust roots, and I'll show a detail in a second. We're really excited to see if that can continue to provide a little bit of a buffer for wind events and that awful convergence of wind events and soil moisture and root damage that lead to lodging.
Well, are you ready to transition to a different vantage point? Because as you pointed out to me, when I looked over the top, you can't really see the difference as well as when you are near ground level.
Yeah. So we stare at roots a lot. That's really been the theme of the summer. And with all of the root phenotyping that we've been doing with the dirt software, we're looking at really seedlings like V2, V3, and this is kind of our first pass looking at mid-season roots. We're really staring at them from all angles, and what you notice as you're handling them, and as Jay and Dana are doing the root ratings, you notice, you start to see trends of like, well, okay, maybe it's not longer, but my goodness, it's wider and there's more density. And that's why, I'm really excited to take the specimen photos that I took in a hotel room and run those through the dirt software as well to put some numbers to those observations. But yeah, happy to show you some examples at a lower angle where you can see that width.
Well, I'll follow you as we get a more close-up look, and I don't know if you want to start here. I believe all of the roots that you wanted to display for us were kind of on the left. So Allison, if you want to go get the three different examples, again, three different controls essentially that were used, and this is from the Remsen field,
correct,
which is in northwest Iowa.
All right, so here we go.
Get down to camera level.
Here is our non-treated control, and you can see, brace roots. Let's see, does this one have any pruning? Yeah, this one has a little bit of pruning, and what Jay and Dana have taught me, some of the adventitious root regrowth from the sites of pruning, which, like, that you can see kind of right there. So, like, it's a corn root. It's doing all right. It's had some feeding pressure. And then if you look at Terrasym 201, and if you kind of do like a side-by-side and we tried to be fair and pick ones that were a good example, and again, that's why we do 20 and we actually, measure everything. But you can see a little bit higher density, more substantial, more robust, maybe not longer length, but kind of like the bracing roots really continue out sideways before they go down. So you get this width of the rooting system that appears to be a little different. And then if you look, so again, that was 201, which is our mitigation isolate. Here's 801, which is a combination of the mitigation isolate and the biostimulant. And what you see is really like we've been joking and calling it like the beefy shoulders phenotype, that you really can see this observation that we've been noticing is that it's just wider and a little bit denser in terms of the root system architecture, and all of that again being influenced by a microbe. So we're pretty excited to see this snapshot at a particular location, and we're excited to expand our trialing next season and try and get more sites that achieve that pressure so that we can start looking at it across larger locations or more locations.
Yeah, the difference is very noticeable in person. Hopefully it translates well on camera to our viewers. But again, you're going to continue on this path of doing research, but the idea that you could mitigate rootworm pressure and decrease lodging, and we'll probably talk cost later, but I mean, those are certainly going to be attractive to growers.
Yeah, we're pretty excited, and we love our pink microbes, and we're just really like, we believe in them, and we like, as a scientist, you see the phenotypes and you're like, it looks like this and it does this and I've measured this, but of course, like, none of that matters unless it happens also at the field scale. So we're just really pleased to see everything that has made all of us excited about M-Trophes from the beginning throughout our whole pipeline process, really to see that also play out in the field and again in real world conditions. So
Are you going to be lonely in the car when you don't have these roots to travel along with you?
Yeah, I've grown attached to them and they don't smell that bad, so I'm actually going to be kind of sad. Like, luckily I have really nice photos of all of them individually, and I will be following up on the data set, but again, I'm exhausted, but I'm sad to see the washing station get packed up too. It feels like we should just keep digging, so.
Well, with this sun, I'm ready to step in front of the power washer. I don't know about you, but Allison, anything else before we wrap up? Really appreciate the visuals here. It's exciting.
Yeah, it's just been a great experience, and we're happy that even under the strange circumstances of 2020, that not only have we been able to do this work directly with growers through Intent, but then we've been able to share it back with growers and with anyone who's interested, like through this platform. So thanks for coming out here with us.
Well, we're live on social media, which means our viewers have the capability of plugging in a website right now if they want to as we conclude this segment. So where can they find NewLeaf online?
NewLeafSym.com.
And that's SYM,
that is,
right?
Yeah, so NewLeaf, all one word, and then SYM, like symbiosis, think symbiosis.com.
All right, we're at the NewLeaf Symbiotics Virtual Field Day in Northeast Iowa. Mark Dorenkamp live on Brownfield.